Have you ever found an old 1942 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark lying around in your change jar, or tucked away in an old coin album and wondered if it could be worth more than just 1 cent? Well, what might seem like a small and ordinary coin could actually hold a surprising amount of history and possibly some real value. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, focusing specifically on the no mint mark Philadelphia issue. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot valuable examples, what makes them rare, and why collectors all over the world are still hunting for this coin. Let's start with the story behind this penny, because it's not just a coin, it's a piece of American history. The year 1942 was a turning point for the United States. The country was deep in World War II, and every factory, every worker, and even the U.S. Mint was contributing to the war effort. Metals like copper were being used for ammunition, military vehicles, and communications equipment. Despite that, in 1942, the Lincoln wheat penny was still being made from the classic bronze alloy, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that had been used since 1909. This would be the final full year of copper-based cents before the famous steel pennies of 1943 were introduced to save copper for the war. Now, the 1942 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. And because Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark at the time, you'll see a clean date that simply reads 1942. Over 657 million of these pennies were made, so at first glance, it might seem like a common coin. But don't be fooled. Condition, color, and errors can make all the difference between a coin worth just a few cents and one worth hundreds of dollars. The design of this coin is a true classic. On the obverse, or front side, we see the image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it remains one of the most iconic American coin designs ever made. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, you'll find the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1942. There's no mint mark below the date, confirming that this penny came from the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse, you'll see the famous wheat ears design, also by Brenner. Two curved wheat stalks frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. This design, simple and symbolic, represents America's strength and unity, perfect for a time when the nation was fighting for freedom overseas. Now, let's get to the part that every coin collector and treasure hunter wants to know. How much is a 1942 no mint mark wheat penny worth today? In circulated condition, meaning it has some wear from being used, most 1942 no mint mark pennies are worth between 5 and 25 cents. That's not bad for a coin that's more than 80 years old. But the real value comes when the coin is in uncirculated or mint condition. If you have a coin that still shines with its original luster, it's considered mint state, and that's where things get exciting. A 1942 wheat penny in MS60 to MS63 condition is typically worth $3 to $10. Move up to MS64 or MS65, and now you're looking at $15 to $30. And if you happen to have a high-grade example, something like MS67 Red, certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, it can easily fetch $150 to $250 or even more at auction. The key here is color. Collectors classify Lincoln cents into 3 color categories: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. Red coins, which retain their bright copper glow, are the most valuable. Red-brown coins have a mix of coppery and darker tones, while fully brown coins tend to be the least valuable. But there's another twist: error varieties and rare misstrikes. Some 1942 wheat pennies show a double die obverse, where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, appear slightly doubled. This doubling occurred during the die creation process and can make a coin extremely collectible. Depending on the strength of the doubling and the coin's condition, a 1942 double die penny could be worth anywhere from $75 to over $300. You may also find 1942 wheat pennies with off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or even lamination errors. Each of these can add significant value. An off-center penny showing about 50% of the design missing might bring $100 to $250, while smaller off-center strikes or minor die cracks can fetch $25 to $75 depending on eye appeal. Now, you might be wondering how to tell if your coin is valuable. The answer lies in grading. Coin grading is the process of evaluating a coin's condition, and it follows a scale from poor, P1, all the way up to mint state, MES 70. For older wheat pennies like the 1942 no mint mark, most coins you find in circulation will fall between fine, F12, and extremely fine, XF40. But coins that look brand new with sharp details and no visible wear can reach the mint state levels. Those are the coins that collectors love. If you think your 1942 penny might be special, it's always a good idea to have it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. These grading companies authenticate your coin, assign it a grade, and seal it in a protective holder. Having your coin graded can dramatically increase its resale value because it provides confidence to buyers and collectors. Another tip: never clean your coin. Cleaning can scratch the surface and remove its natural patina, instantly lowering its value. Even if you think you're improving its appearance, collectors prefer coins in their original state, even if they look a little dull. If you want to preserve your coin, store it properly in a coin flip, capsule, or holder, and keep it in a cool, dry place to prevent further toning or corrosion. Beyond its value, the 1942 1-cent wheat penny holds an emotional and historical significance. Think about it. This was a coin that circulated during the Second World War. It might have been in the pocket of a soldier's family member, spent on war bonds, or passed through the hands of factory workers supporting the war effort. Each penny carries with it a story from one of the most defining periods in American history. Today, collectors love the 1942 wheat penny not just for its affordability, but for its connection to a time of resilience and change. It's one of those coins that bridges the gap between the pre-war and wartime eras of U.S. coinage. Owning one is like holding a small piece of American heritage, something tangible that survived decades of history. So, if you come across a 1942 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark, take a close look at it. Examine its color, check for doubling on the date or letters, and notice its overall condition. Even if it's not worth hundreds, it's still a wonderful collectible and a reminder that every coin has a story. And who knows, you might be one of the lucky few who discover a rare high-grade or error example worth far more than you ever expected. In the end, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny No Mint mark is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of history, craftsmanship, and American pride. Whether it's worth a few cents or a few $100s, this small copper coin remains one of the most iconic and beloved pieces in U.S. numismatic history.